of my show and just really making a big difference in the world by sharing this show and getting it out to everybody and definitely commenting, because that's what really makes the algorithm take notice, and then it shares the show with more people, and we get to help more people. So I'm excited about that too. So today I have an amazing guest, and we're going to have a conversation about how you get to reconnect yourself post COVID, post pandemic, and find your groove again. I mean, I know for me, going through that experience was it was tough. You know, I'm not gonna pretend. It was really, really tough, and it took its toll on different aspects of me, which included my health and my happiness, which is everything. Even though I have all of these tools to repattern myself and my clients, I still took it really hard. It was like, I would say, going through, because I was in downtown Los Angeles and kind of locked in my building. I lived in a penthouse overlooking the freeway, and although I had this big glorious condominium with these 16-foot tall windows overlooking the mountains and the city, and it sounds very glamorous, but it was like being in a gilded prison. It was horrible. It was just absolutely horrible. And so I'm today we'll share with you some tools that you guys can use to hit the reset button and get yourself back into a happier place. So without further ado, all the way from New Zealand, this is Rebecca Saunders. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me on the show. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. So exciting. What time of day is it there?
And it's 5 a.m. here. So you're looking
Girl.
gloriously sunshine, and I'm looking at stars out the window in wintertime.
Girl. Well, God bless you for getting up before the dawn to be on my show. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking, I wonder, because in the conversion of the time zones, I wasn't sure, like, did we calculate it right there for a few minutes? And I'm like, no, she'll be here. I just need to get rolling and just get started.
Yeah. No, the time zones work. I've done 4 o'clock in the morning before, and that's a struggle.
Ouch.
When you set the alarm for 3:30 and you're like, oh, what am I doing? But no, 5's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like for me, I have this rule when I take flights, like I never fly before noon. And some people might say, well, that's a waste of time. I'll fly during the night, or I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll fly at the crack of dawn, and then I get there sooner. And it's like, for me, nothing's ever a waste of time, because that time that I'm sitting on the jet, I'm creating something in my world. It actually is kind of a lovely break from everything to just be able to sit and write out a new creative idea of something that I'm putting together and just have that moment, but yeah.
I would totally agree. Totally agree. For me, the trip starts from the moment like I'm leaving my home. So why would I want to like leave at the crack of dawn, or when it's cold, or when it's dark? Yeah, definitely.
No, absolutely. Or sit on a jet overnight, cramped up in a chair.
No, thank you. I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, horrible. So I'm curious, before we kind of get into like how to reconnect yourself to the world and find your groove again, what was COVID like for you?
So COVID for me actually wasn't too bad. So we're in Australia. We had some of the harshest lockdowns in some of the states. Luckily, I wasn't in those states. So I was in Sydney, Australia at the time.
Oh, you were in Australia.
Australia.
Why did I think you were
New Zealand,
in
babe?
New
Close
Zealand?
enough. Close enough. We're a stone's throw away, and I'll take it. That's all good. But no, Sydney, Australia is where I spent lockdown, and actually, it wasn't majorly a lockdown. It wasn't hugely impactful from a mental health perspective for us. We were very lucky. And I say lucky because I was in the video industry and I had a film studio, a city. We were considered essential services essentially from a work perspective because we were data services. So we were able to still go to work because we had that space. And that space enabled us to help large organizations, live stream conferences. We were to help speakers or transition their home set up into home studios so they could keep working. And so COVID for us wasn't a slowdown, we're stuck at home, what the hell are we doing, what can we do at the moment. It was oh my gosh, this is mental, like the phone won't stop ringing, how can we keep helping more people? It was manic. So we had the busiest 2 years I think I've ever had in my entire career during that time. So we were very different. I have to say, being in a windowless soundproof box, which is what our film studio was, it takes its toll, right? Sure. So the windows, we were not really having much daylight. So, if we look at it that way, it's a slight downside, but by no stretch was it as impactful on me personally as I know it was for a lot of others.
Yeah, I mean, for us, from a business coaching perspective, our client base expanded and blew up in a good way. It was just me on a personal level. I think the tipping point for me was I was living in a luxury building and I had this luxury package that promised all these amenities, and then they just closed them all. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna close all the amenities that I'm paying for, you need to reduce my monthly nut. It's like, why am I paying for something you're not allowing me to use? So that started the ball rolling for me, because I could just see there was just this lack of balance to everything that was going on. And then the tipping point for me, which is what made me decide to get the hell out of Los Angeles forever, was the poster in the elevator that said to report your neighbors if they had guests over. And I'm like, okay, like, no, I don't, that's not how Deborah Peters lives her life. It's like, no, I'm not going to be your Gestapo for no reason. So clearly I'm talking about it now, so it still has left like this bad taste in my mouth. It's like, it's just tragic that it was so obnoxious, but every location, every city handle things differently, and it didn't take me long to realize I needed to just pack up and move somewhere else that was more awake and more self-aware, so yeah. But the upshot of that is, I made some really great decisions for my business. I rewrote all of my curriculum to serve a post-pandemic world, because I knew people were going to be in a completely different place energetically and in their consciousness. And so that was very interesting. And I was working on my book this weekend, going through and doing some edits. And I was thinking, well, I'm just going to edit these first few chapters. And I ended up creating a whole new chapter. Like, I just added so much content. So the creative side of me really started to blossom after that. But that's not the case with everybody. I mean, some people are still really struggling to get out there and to laugh and to play and to connect with people and just enjoy themselves for no reason. It's like, we don't have to have a justification to be happy. We just really, why we're on the planet really is to be happy.
I think that we've almost forgotten as a population of that connection piece as well. I think, we were stuck for such a long period of time that none of us ever expected or ever have experienced before, being alone or one or two people or our immediate family for so long that you've almost forgotten how to interact and have those fun moments, you know,
Yeah.
or go out and do the fun things, because we've been so stuck being homebodies for such a long time, which I think is quite a sad thing, really, that, you know, we don't go and explore our own backyards or, you know, our own cities, even, you know, but it doesn't need to be big trips. It's those little things we can go and do that will spark joy. Yeah.
Yeah, just a walk down the street or in the park and being grateful for the birds chirping and the flowers and the sunshine. I mean, the simplicity of that sort of thing, for a lot of people was taken away from them. And so I really feel that it was an assault on our nervous system. And I did these two videos back in 2020 called The Science of Propaganda, which basically breaks down how through public relations we can completely program the masses to accept certain ideologies, which is what marketing and branding is all about, right? And so that kind of gave me like an outlet, because I felt like what I needed to do, my responsibility, given my knowledge base, was to really break down what was happening so people could look at things and think for themselves and say to themselves, like, oh, really? Well, this isn't how I am, or this isn't how I want my life to be, or this isn't how I think. Instead of them being in this fear-based environment where they're just reacting to whatever's being told to them. You know, that was the big deal, really, for sure.
Yeah, very much so. And it's that uncertainty piece, I think, is really important to acknowledge that we went through that, right? It was a case of, we don't know what's going on or what the end is or what the next, you know, coming down from, you know, whatever state department we were around to let us know. So it was the unknown, I think, has taken a big toll.
Yeah, you're right. It's the unknown. And a lot of people, like if you look at our global population, I don't even know how you would get statistics on this, but I would say that probably the vast majority, like the high 90 percentile, are risk adverse. You know, they are afraid of the unknown. They're risk adverse, and they'd rather roll with what's comfortable because it's predictable than to go against the grain of, say, the status quo and actually carve out their own reality and really have some independent thinking. You know, groupthink became a very popular process.
Yeah, very much so. You're right. It's easy to stay in a lane and stay content. I use the word as content because as an entrepreneur, I'm never content. I'm always looking for next. I am a minority of the population when I say that. You know, I think people do like to feel safe and feel comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why that's the driver behind why people stay in relationships that aren't healthy. They stay in jobs that aren't healthy. You know, they might even like I know people that have never left their hometown. Yeah, because it's just way out of their comfort zone. There was a statistic some years ago, it probably has changed, but that 75% of Americans don't have passports. So, you know, they're not traveling outside of their national borders and exploring. They're like, you know, let's stay in this comfort zone and just manage this little area here within ourselves.
Yeah, and the majority of those probably won't travel that much interstate anyway, right? We'll stay home or within their area. Yeah.
So I was watching, and we don't want to make this all about the negative, but I think it's worth stating as like a precursor to the tools you're going to roll out. I watched a lot of what was going on in Victoria.
Yep.
And like, has that subsided? Are things like less crazy there and controlled and dominated, or is the government still crushing the people?
No, completely. So when that Victoria had some of the harshest lockdowns the world saw, I think, in terms of the number of days that people were forced to stay home under a lockdown period. And I don't know the number off the top of my head, but there was definitely a 200 sort of day straight sort of period. And I don't know, that definitely had a massive toll, took its massive toll on individuals at the time. And there's definitely, a lot of PTSD happening. I've no doubt amongst the people that were impacted by that. But in terms of any repercussions or what we're seeing here now, definitely not. Like, it's not, as soon as the borders opened and everything was like, oh, okay, we can go back to a normal, all of that restriction stopped. So, and that was across the country. So, no, it's like a crazy period of time where everyone a little bit nuts. Victoria happened to take it a little bit crazier, and their lockdowns look like scenario. So, it's mind-boggling to think that was just a few years ago, but it's still, for some people, it's taken a long time to get over the trauma that has been inflicted as a result of being part of that.
Yeah, you nailed it. It is trauma. It's trauma. It's shock. It's, and when the repetition of that, which is what I covered in my Science of Propaganda videos, the repetition of the messaging, you're going to die, you're going to kill others, you need to be in 100% fear and not talk to anyone and not go anywhere. The repetition that was put out there was just beyond measure. It doesn't take much to program a mind, like somewhere between 3, 7, and 21 repetitions, and a new habit is formed. That's not much, it's like 3 repetitions, 7 repetitions, 21 repetitions, and a whole new habit is formed. So when you consider that through the legacy media, there were millions and millions and millions and millions, like uncountable, unmeasurable amounts of, messaging of fear and death and selfishness, like hammered on the people. Some people are just going to get beaten down by that. It's like a browbeating beyond measure.
Very much so. But I think you can argue that if you looked at the news now, you can find a heap of negativity all over the place if you go looking for it. Like,
true.
It's not, COVID put that very much on stage for everyone. But if you do want to go down that path, it's just as easy as turning on the TV or turning on the radio. And, it's not that positive at all.
No.
I think it's hard to find the positives when you're surrounded so much by a lot of negativity.
It's So I had another guest on recently. We were on American Independence Day, July 4th. And we were talking about this subject too, about how, I personally am hard pressed to find something to watch, say as a movie, to just kind of unwind in the evening or something that has a kind, positive message. Like, there's nothing. It's all about violence and rage, and it's just off the chain. It's just off the chain. Like, you have to go back and watch movies from the 80s to actually get something that's kind of heartwarming and soft and fuzzy.
Well, one of my favorite movies that's new, which is nice and warm and fuzzy, so you should put this on your list, is Mrs. Hat Goes to Paris. It's just such a heartwarming, fuzzy movie.
I love that movie.
It's fantastic, and that's on. That's started to hit the streaming service here in Australia now. So, I find on any of those shows, I go back to all the shows that I've watched before because I know them. There's just too many to scroll through and go, can I really be bothered to invest half an hour in finding out if I like this new show or not? So I'm guilty of just watching the same stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So then I'm curious, are you still with the video production company? Or are you solely coaching people? What's your thing now?
My video production company does still operate. So it's not something that you'll find if you jump over and like search for me. It's sort of hidden in the background, but we still have some amazing corporate clients and some individual clients that we love working with and who love working with us. So that company has been around for over a decade now. It would be sad to close it completely. So it's just sort of not as bright and shiny on the outside anymore, but it still operates with the team. And I'm really grateful to have teams that I can call on to execute those videos across Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and parts of the States. So it does still operate, but I'm very much, for me personally, in the coaching space and with the Champagne Lounge, with the online community for women. So yeah.
Really good. And so for people that are still struggling to get out and connect, what's your advice for that?
Oh, such a good question, isn't it? Like, so if I think about why I started the Champagne Lounge and what that is. So I moved to regional Australia, which is Australia's got a lot of regional and rural areas across the country. And so where I live now is about 3.5 hours inland from Sydney. So very small town, population of around 10,000. And I moved here and we go, oh, we don't know anyone. Like, oh, okay, what do we do? And so I did what I do because I'm an extroverted, entrepreneurial type. And I walked around town, which is only 3 or 4 streets, Deborah. Yeah. Like it's not massive. And I popped into all the little shops and some little tiny sort of boutique type shops, owner occupied. So I went and said hello and got to some of the stories and to know their stories. And that's the way that I started building up, my friendship circle, I would say. And that got me thinking, okay, well, I'm extroverted. What if other people don't have that way of things? So started to get curious and I was like, okay, I'm going to walk the dog exactly the same route around town and see if I can other people that way. And yep, I still do that walk with my dog now because I get the hellos and the good mornings from the people in the coffee shop and the people that are out on their walks. And it wasn't until I was at the dog park with the dog and we were talking with other dog owners that a few people over a period of weeks had said, we've been in town a year or two. I haven't met anyone. And I'm like, wow, really? Like you could be down over a year and not really meet anyone? And they said, no, like I work from home. I bring the dog to the dog park. One really is super chatty. So I haven't met anyone. And that for me was really quite, well, not necessarily tragic. It was just like in the guts sort of, oh, okay. People are obviously really quite lonely. And how do you navigate that? And how do you meet new people and make friends as adults, right? It's really hard because we're programmed to, be super busy and not busy or talking to someone. We're sat on our phones when we're in restaurants and cafes and we're not making eye contact with anyone. And so the Champagne Lounge launched because I wanted it to be a network space, a networking virtual space for business owners who work from home, come and just have a space to chat and have connection. And that was as simple as it was. And people were going, well, what else is it? That's it. That's all it is. It's a online platform that I'm allowing people to come and just have conversations, and I'll facilitate some virtual sessions and they come on live and do their own thing. And it's grown organically because it's given people permission to be there and show up when they want to and not feel like they're stuck in an agenda. So, and I think that's a big thing to sort of start thinking about if you're feeling in that way of, oh, how do I meet people? Because a gym or a hobby craft group or whatever it is can feel really quite overwhelming to go back into such a strong routine of I've got to show up I've got to show up at this time on this day, and again and again and again. And I think that can put a lot of pressure on individuals to feel like they have to and be a certain way or do a certain thing. And so I think I share all of that because it's not one size fits all, right? Like the world needs some people like me to go, hey, I'm putting all this stuff out there, come and be part of it. And also people that, oh, finally, like something I can go and be a part of and have a connection to. And so I think if you're in that situation where you go, I'm really quite lonely in what I'm doing, get a little bit of a routine on your terms of going to the coffee shop or going for that walk. And instead of looking at your phone or looking down all the time, actually try making just little steps, just getting to know the name of the person who makes the coffee in the local store and saying good morning to him on the, him or her. When you go past or when you walk in can make a huge difference. So it's little things like that, I think, need to sort of grow, and you need to do it step by step to enable you to have that little bits of joy in your world. You've got to come out of your cocoon a little bit and just say hello to the world.
Absolutely. And reach out to groups that are meeting in person too, and get out there and, clink your glass and shake a hand and look people in the eye again. So important.
I mean, even community groups. I don't know what it's like where you're living now, but all communities here tend to have a small Facebook group that you can go and join and be part of. And, I put out, someone put out in the group when I was new to town, hey, I'm new to town, just wanted to see if anyone wanted to catch. I was the only person that responded to that message. And we caught up for coffee or wine. I can't remember. We've met up a few times since. We caught up for wine to start with. And she goes, yeah, you were the only person that had responded to that message. And so you've got to put yourself out there. And I think someone somewhere will answer that call of, I'll go for coffee. Sure. Like I'll go for a walk with you if you want to go for a walk, And so asking the question in some of those groups can be really great. I've done a similar thing myself where I host dinners in my home for business owners that I put tickets out into the world and people buy them and come into my home. And I like the idea of them arriving as strangers and leaving as friends. And I know there's different variations of supper clubs and dinner clubs around, but I did that in our local community group, and 8 business owners who, or people that work from home, all came along, never met other people, and just that connection piece, just because I put it out there to go, hey, if you feel like it, come and be part of it. And so keep an eye on your local community groups, because there'll be things you can go and join.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to have dinner parties all the time. And so I've been working remotely in different states across the country for literally over a year now, and it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, it's one thing to fly into a place and speak or teach a training or something and fly out, but it's a whole other experience when you drive and you're like the back roads of America and you're getting to talk to people, and it's just been lovely. So now I'm finally in a place for a few months where I can start doing those dinner parties again. I can't wait to get them rolling. We call it Sunday roast, and cool. It's kind of a British thing. Yeah, it's kind of a British thing.
Yeah. But, and so do you always do them on a Sunday, or you just call it Sunday roast because you love roasting?
No, it's Sunday. It's Sunday late afternoon, early evening, and you put a roast in the oven and just kind of old school, have some friends over, or people that are new to the neighborhood that you want to welcome in, and just, a couple hours, have a nice meal and hang out together.
Yeah, I love it. That's my happy place. Food and cooking for me is my downtime, because it enables me to still be creative and not be around a screen. And then just the joy of seeing people enjoy the food that I've made, and the connection and the community and the conversation. It just, that lights my soul on fire. So I totally vibe with that.
I'm totally with you. So, no, this is really good. And so that's the reconnecting with people part. What have you found works to, you know, kind of get your groove back and get inspired again to get your own life rolling or your own business happening?
I think the biggest thing there is it's finding things bit by bit, right? It's not I'm going to flick the switch and all of a sudden there's going to be joy and excitement and things happening. And I'll share a few things that I do. I put into action so that I'm doing. Particularly as business owners and busy people, we can get really caught up in the day to day of work and life, and just all of a sudden another month's gone, you know? So some of the things that I put into play, I always mark out in my calendar at the beginning of every year. And I can say every year this time because Australia's just started a new financial year. So I've done it again in the last couple of days, what I want the year to look like. And I always pop in, you know, where the holidays are going to be. You know, it's not thinking about work first. It's actually where's the fun? Where's the fun going to be in the year ahead? And so one big trip here is something awesome to put into play. You know, having a mini adventure once a month or even once a quarter, putting that into play. So, you know, it doesn't have to be, and none of these things need to take a lot of money, right? So you just work out what you want to be doing in terms of, you know, you've always got something in the back of your mind that goes, oh, I always want to do X. You know, for me, it's at the moment, I really want to skydiving, you know, so.
Hold on, Rebecca. I'm going to put you on pause for a second while I shut the door because the gardener showed up. Oh my gosh. There you go. Sorry. It was
I
like,
love it.
at first I'm like, I can get through this. I can wait till he's gone. And then I'm like, no, I can't. It's
No,
too annoying.
I couldn't hear it. So you were all right.
Yeah, it was just me. So, so roll back a sentence because you said something that inspired me.
So it's all for me, it's about putting in those steps and those things that you've always wanted to do. Yeah. So I think everyone's list of I want to do X or I want to do Y or I really wish I had time to do Z, you know. So actually looking at your year and I'm going to put in, I do it once a month, but it could be once a quarter depending on schedules. And I put time in calendar and book it out as adventure time, you know, and pick the adventures that you want to do and go and do them, you know. Book that hotel in the next state and just go there for a long weekend, you know. Pack the car and go for that drive to that camping spot. Go for that dinner in that fancy restaurant that you're like, oh, should I? That's expensive, but why not go just the once, you know?
So basically, you really wanted to go there, you know, what are you waiting for, right?
What exactly? And so that's my big adventures. So I plan to put the holidays in first, put my little mini adventures in. And then something else I do, which may sound a little bit crackers, is you've got 50 weeks a year. So I write a list of 52 things that I want to do or I have to do actually, or I have to do. So for example, one year I had, I want to go hiking. I want to, on this particular spot, I want to go hiking in the Larapinta. I have to do an air balloon ride. I've got to go to the dentist. You know, those things you put off for a really long time that you go, really should book that stuff in. So the dentist was on my 52 things. And the reason I do the 52 things is because, loosely speaking, you can pick one off a week, right? And at the end of the year, you go, wow, look what I managed to do. Like, that's cool. And so they're the little hack that I put into play in my world that enable me to go and find those joyous moments or have those memories and look back and go, yeah, I nailed that. Or in 2022, I went here, it was amazing. And, you know, so micro things down to, you know, 52 little things. If you can do 4 mini adventures in a year and then 1 big adventure in a year, it's cool.
Yeah, it'll break you out of your comfort zone. I started doing that during 2020 where I was like, okay, I'm kind of tied into this situation I'm living in for another year. How can I break up the energy? That was really what I was looking to do. so I started taking road trips, and it was just, at first it was just a baby road trip. I found this glamping website, and they had these sort of like retro mobile homes set up in this trailer park in the desert.
Yeah,
And
cool.
yeah, and it was like way out, you know, it was for anybody that's a US resident, you'll understand this. It was probably 90 miles east of Palm Springs. So it was like way out in the desert. I mean, I was beginning to wonder if I was lost, you know, because it was so far out. And
Yeah.
and they had a pool, you know, they had a pool, and there was about maybe 50 mobile homes there, and probably 6 or 7 of them were glamped out where you could, you know, get them for a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Wow. So I went for 3 days, and I ended up extending for 5. I was like, I'm not going back to the city. Like, this feels
Yeah.
way too good.
And some of these things don't have to be far away, right?
Yeah.
You can just jump in and are in places. And before all the international borders opened in COVID, there was a big thing here in terms of doing staycations, you know, like
Yes.
let's go and explore our home cities. And that was really eye-opening for me, because it's like, you know what? I haven't been and checked out those botanical gardens in like a decade. I'm going to go see what they're like now. And so there is so much stuff you can go and do without going very far as well. And I think
Yeah.
that's that's something just to be thoughtful of, is these, as I keep saying, these things don't need to be big, and they don't need to be expensive. You
No,
know,
they
it's
don't.
just a matter of breaking the ritual, and meaning that you just change your environment for a few days, because that can shift everything energetically.
Yes.
If you're feeling in a
100%.
bit of a funk.
A
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. Just get up and move around and change your environment for sure.
very
So
much so.
we're kind of at the end here. What parting advice do you have for the viewers?
I'm gonna go with, you know, life's short and it's there to have fun in. No, it's we've all been through such crazy times in the last few years that now's the time we can really harness to have fun with it, and not take ourselves too seriously as
Yeah.
well. You know, it's that find that balance, and put fun, family, friends, all that stuff first. You know, put that into your calendars first, plan it out first, and stick to it, because life's short. You know, there's only 52 weeks in a year, and you can get a lot done if you look at it that way. So go have fun with the world.
So good. So good. In fact, I'm going to start doing more of that. You know, it's I always tell my clients, like, a business plan in your head is just merely a hope, you know, and hope is not
Yeah,
a strategy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I need to follow my own advice and actually put stuff in my calendar. Like, for instance, a few years ago, I did this dolphin swim with wild dolphins.
Cool.
I had done some in captivity, and then I opted for this experience in a wild habitat. And wow, like, it just changed my vibration in such a beautiful way. I felt so much peace and so much enthusiasm for my future. And so I've been really wanting to go and do that again. And I just, you know, I get their calendar, and then I there's always a reason why I can't go, because it's a week-long event. And I'm going to put that
Yeah.
in there when we're done this show, and I'm going to select the dates and just do
It
it.
in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, I love that. And I'm going to be following along to see the photos.
absolutely. I know, it's
That's
so funny.
great.
I was watching
Yeah.
fireworks recently with some friends on Independence Day, and she was taking millions and millions of pictures. And I said, you know, the funny thing about taking pictures of fireworks is it's like taking pictures of dolphins. It's like the same dolphin. It could be, you know, it could look like the same dolphin doing the same thing over and over, like the same
Yeah.
fireworks. They're not really different pictures. They kind of all look the same. So, but still, it's the experience of giving, first of all, to yourself, And
Completely.
then, right, and then doing, because that honors you. When you honor yourself, that honors you. And then doing something that's outside of your typical routine, that in and of itself will foster the development and growth of new neurotransmitters, which will inspire new thought patterns, which in turn creates new behavior, and the new behavior creates new results. So it's the best way to just make a shift in your life, 100%.
Very much so. Very much so. It's little bit, put the little things in and celebrate the micro things as well. You know, it's we don't celebrate when we've done achievements either. So the celebration piece could be a whole other conversation, but it's that get out there, try it, put it in your calendar, peeps, put it in your calendar.
And have some fun. So how can people
Very
reach you?
So my happy place to hang out on socials is Instagram. You can find me at the Rebecca Saunders.
Sorry. I've never done that
I love
before.
it. The technology, you're like, oops, I shouldn't have pressed that button early. No, so Instagram is my happy place at the Rebecca Saunders, and online you can find me at thechampagnelounge.com.
Okay, so at the Rebecca Saunders.
The Rebecca Saunders, yes.
Okay, and at the Champagne Lounge.
So thechampagnelounge.com, yes.
Thechampagnelounge.com. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Amazing.
God, I'm sorry I hit that button. I've never done that before. In
It's
all the
all
hundreds
good.
of shows
It's
I've
all
done,
good.
I've never done that. That's hilarious. I'm like,
Technology, it's always fun.
yeah, don't click here yet. So thank you so much for being here. And I, again, I really appreciate you practically up in the middle of the night to make the show and just to share your wisdom and your experience and just being you, and everything that you bring to the world. The universe would not be the same without you, Rebecca. You're a blessing.
Thank you, my love. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to come this morning. Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in and shared and commented. I just truly hope that these messages talk to your heart, speak to your heart, and that they encourage you to just be unapologetic about being you, because the universe needs you too. We're all here together and we're all connected, and it's all energy. And so your contribution makes a massive difference. So thank you for being part of the Deborah Peters Show. And remember, most importantly, stay aligned, stay alert, and stay awake. And now I can play the music.